You're welcome. And it's 2:59. So I think we'll get started in a second. So everybody, Teresa, Mike, Darren, you want to do a little sound check and say hi for a sec, just to make sure you're all good?
Hi.
Hi.
Check, check. Hello.
I know, I just want to see your faces.
Hey guys,
hear your voices,
how's it
so I
going?
know I'm not here by myself.
Am I good? Am I working?
Roll
Good.
call.
Roll call.
All right, so today's session is going to be recorded, and hopefully it's used to teachers who are checking in later in the evening, maybe. Okay, so let's get started. If I can change the slide. There we go.
All right. I was just saying to Sally, I like this picture. Doesn't look like that exactly today, but it did the other day. We acknowledge that the land on which we are gathered is part of the traditional territory of the Chippewa, Ottawa, Potawatomi, and Delaware nations.
Potawatomi.
Written
We
down
were
too.
practicing today. Okay, I wouldn't normally do that, but Teresa and I were like talking about it today and doing all sounding out. And
Oh, wow.
okay, so we're going to start off with talking about tech issues, get those things addressed if anybody has any questions. Then we're going to talk, Mike's going to share his, Darren's going to share his virtual learning day plan and what he does. And then we're going to just share a few language and math resources.
So we want to welcome Darren and Mike today. They've been our virtual teachers now since September, and they're our experts. So we're grateful to have them here today. So thanks for coming.
That's a big smile there, Mike.
Glad to help
Expert is a
out.
strong adjective, but I've been doing it since September.
You're the expert in our board because you have done it and nobody else has really done it.
All relative, right?
Yeah.
Mike, I was saying that this morning too. I said, you know what? I don't know if we're experts, but we've been baptized by fire, I think, with this stuff. So I think it's good to share, though. It's good to share.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, own the title.
Yeah, you deserve it. You deserve it.
Yeah. Okay.
How hilarious is this picture?
I was cracked up when I seen this.
Oh, makes me laugh too.
Look at that computer. It's unreal.
What would that even be? Who knows?
Do you remember the blinking screen? Like I remember being in elementary school and seeing like something like this, and there'd be like just like it was just typing, right? There was nothing, like no visuals, no pictures.
64.
Commodore
To flex my text expertise.
So funny. Look at that. That's so funny. We've come a long way. We've come a long way.
Yes, that's for sure.
Any tech issues? I heard a couple grumblings of people not being able to get on today, but again, not like yesterday. So that's good news.
Yeah, it seemed like there were some issues with the Google Classroom, the apps, the Google Suites apps on iPads today. I don't know, Mike, if you guys had that experience today, but I had kids not being able to get into Classroom. Was slow. I don't know if it was their internet connection or not, but the iPad's the bane of the the virtual world, it seems. So go figure.
Yeah, not too bad. I think sometimes they like it's not working, and you're like, it's because your internet's slow. Just wait a minute.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing, right? Everything's slower, right, online. So it's important to remind them that, I guess.
So Darren, are you saying that you're finding like in general over the last few months that the iPad has more complications when you're trying to learn online?
Yeah, it's more of a handcuff for a lot of students, especially with the things that we've found successful with, especially like math apps and like Whiteboard FI, things like that. Like on the Chromebooks and on a laptop, it's a little bit easier to navigate those things because the students can keep the Meet open and then go into the other apps as opposed to keeping the Google Meet app open on the iPad and then having to switch tabs. So a lot of times they have to leave the Meet to go into the other app. That's one thing that we found to be a challenge to try to work around, but it's worked for most students, and I think a lot of times just reinforcing that they can use that asynchronous time to get caught up or come back and ask those questions during that asynchronous time because a lot of times if there is an issue and you're trying to solve, everything's on pause while you're trying to solve those issues, right? Mike, I think you can attest to this too, I'm sure, right? When you're trying to solve an issue with one student, you have 32 other students that are, trying to ask questions as well, and you're trying to solve a tech issue. So it's trying to balance those things out, and like making notes as you go along. Like, okay, Jimmy had an issue with his iPad, so I'm going to go back to him during that asynchronous time and make sure that he understood that, because it can get lost in the wash, right, as the day goes on. So
Yeah, and yeah, just to build on that point, yeah, I find like just the flipping between tabs and kind of having things open, it's just a bit more clumsy with the iPad. And even just kind of planning, you always have to keep in the back of the mind, is this going to work for the computer?
yeah,
And does it work for the iPad? And if it doesn't, is there an alternative that I need to? I found that a lot in art, like you might just be like, pull up Paint, because you guys
yeah.
all then. So what's the app that's equivalent to Paint, or what's like the web-based app that you would use in art or something like that? So
Yeah.
but there was a bit of a dance with the iPads.
Yeah, a lot of times that's the other thing too, is that I've had to do, I know the other guys, I can talk on their behalf, I'm sure, but we've had to figure out alternatives to the app. So we have to give a lot of choice as far as like with art, especially with art and other things. Like some students, if we're trying to do like some coding apps, they can't get online to do the coding app through the iPad because they need Flash for this, and some of the stuff isn't compatible with the iPad. So there's always an alternative that we need to have in order to plan for failure, I guess.
Mhm. You don't know of any, is there any way that you can anticipate, like check in advance? Like, is there any place you search up to find what things aren't going to work on an iPad, or no?
What I've kind of done is I might take a student aside. I know I've got like 4 or 5 that have an iPad. And if I know, like, for example, the coding, I use this website, code.org. Yeah,
Mhm.
he was like, oh, this seems like too good to be true. So
Right.
the week before we're going to do coding, I just, one of my iPad kids were done their work a little early. It's like, can you just go to the website and mess around with a few of these things? I sent them a couple of links to see if they work. So if you can, a bit of a time, like if kind of planning ahead and trying to navigate those, if you, it just comes with like learning, right? Like, okay,
Yeah,
these things don't work. So you kind of plan ahead and maybe get a few iPad kids to try to see if it works. And if it doesn't, you kind of tweak it a bit.
that's a great
Most
idea.
web-based stuff though, I found like the like the whiteboard FI or just code.org is all web-based, or Desmo seems to be web-based. A lot of web, if you can find something that's web-based and not so much an app, that seems to be ideal because it works
Yeah.
across all the platforms.
Yeah, that's a great point. Like we do the same thing. We'll have students go in with an iPad and we'll say, hey, can you check this out to see if this works? And most of the time it does, but there's the odd time that they can't open something or something can't be done through the iPad. So those are challenges, especially depending on the age group you have too, right? Like if you have grade 7 and 8s that might be using the iPad a little, that have used the iPad in the past, right? They might know, the ins and outs a little bit better than say, 4, 5, 6, right? So but yeah, for the most part, it's a great piece of technology, but for some stuff, you can really be handcuffed with the limitations that you have with it.
Hmm. Yeah. I was just watching the intermediate session, and during that session, Melissa Dent was in there, and they were talking about taking a screenshot. Like, so kids would take a screenshot and share. And so Melissa she's like, oh, I'll share this with you. And she put the link in the chat, and it was just how to take a screenshot from an iPad, a Chromebook, and
Yeah.
then a MacBook, and
Yeah.
like all the different things, like, because it's to take a screenshot from is like different on all those devices. It's
Yeah.
craziness.
And that's the other half of it too, right? There's stuff that you can do on the iPad that's so much easier than doing it on a Chromebook, right? Like there's different keys that like codes that you can put
Yeah.
into to take a screenshot, and that's been a valuable tool. I know a lot of my students. That's one thing that I went through with them, and I showed them how to take a screenshot on a laptop and on their Chromebook too. So, yeah, just learning the ins and outs, right? But it's taken time. Like Mike, you can speak on this probably too. Like it's taken a long time to understand the ins and outs. Like the first week of school, I probably would have said I have no idea how to do that on a Chromebook, right? But as we go through and we learn, it's they're just things that the students will take away from this too and be able to use in other years as well. So
For sure. So when you say if you're working all together and you want the students to take a screenshot and share, where do they take over sharing in the Google Meet, or how do they share with a whole class? How do you do that?
Like,
Go ahead, Mike. Go ahead.
yeah, I just usually, most of the time, like, they want to show their work, or like they just share their screen on the Meet. I haven't had like really too many issues with like kids like being like renegades doing it. They seem to be pretty respectful about that. So yeah, most of the time it's that. If some of them have both devices, so they might, do most of the work on a Chromebook and then take their screenshot with their phone or with their iPad because it's easier. But yeah, usually they just share their screen if they want to show something quick in front of the class. But if it's in terms of submitting something, then they have to kind of go through the steps.
Like for Google Classroom,
Yeah.
to submit through Google Classroom, yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say the exact same thing, right? Like most of the time it's in real time. They can just share their screen, broadcast to the iPad, and then most of the time we're uploading assignments right through Google Classroom, and they can hand in their screenshot of their work, or like Mike said, take a picture with the iPad if they're doing it on like a piece of paper at home, and they can hand that in through an image.
Okay. So the question that came up yesterday was some Google Meet bombing happening in classrooms yesterday. And so I wondered, was that happening for you two in the beginning or no?
Not really. It happened a couple times with some colleagues online, but it's important to know that, like, if you have Meet controls, you can remove those people that shouldn't be in the Meet, right? And I think I don't know how. I think students can share the link to other students, but if you have host controls, you could admit people into the Meet if it's an outside email, or you can remove those people and they won't be allowed back in, right? For 24 hours.
Right.
So you might go through that issue again the next day, but I'm sure once you get to the bottom of it, you'll see the student's name, right? And once they're removed, you could say, okay, so-and-so is from, Mr. Cordonley's class, and, I'm going to email Mike and say, hey, this kid was in my Meet. I don't know what that was all about, but, maybe he just had the wrong Meet link. But if they're bombing the Meet, right? They're trying to get in for whatever reason. If you have host controls, you can remove those guys from there and they won't be able to get back in.
And so the host controls, like we talked about yesterday, that comes from creating your Meet link in the Google Calendar.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I've got, so this was happening through another school, and the teacher and the vice principal were doing some problem shooting. And they were shared this in the grade 3-4 session yesterday. So I'm just going to show you what they came up with, because she came up with some solutions and then she's shared them with us. So I was like, oh, let's share them in our session today. So the bombing. So she says, first, when you're in your Google Meet, click on this, the 3 dots on the right-hand corner, and then go into your settings. Oh, gotta go back. And then click host controls, which you will only have, right, if you're in the Google Calendar. And then when you do that, this will come up. I'm clicking too many times. It's too slow. I'm too fast and it's too slow. Okay. So we were looking at this and we're like, well, it's got to be something to do this, but we weren't paying attention when turned off. So if you turn this off, then that gives them more power.
Right.
So the teacher was going to individually add them to the Google Meet in the calendar. So then those people are allowed to access. Is that necessary, or is that something she needs to do?
I've only had like it happen twice, and it was like for 10 seconds, and you just kind of keep your eye on it. And usually, like, you can kind of, they just come in and you just ignore it. And like, but I think, like, to me personally, the calendar thing can be a bit arduous and time consuming. I just have like your Google Classroom will generate its own Meet code. And what I do is I just log in like 8:15 in the morning. But I just tell my kids, like, don't log in because then when they log in, they can see who's in the Meet. So I tell them first thing in the morning, like, if you don't see me, don't log in because I'm not there yet. And you're going to steal the controls. Then I got to reboot everything. It's in a pain in the butt for everyone. So they're in the habit now of checking to see if I'm there. Usually don't even log in until right before now. I mean, early on, they're excited. They're logging in like first thing in the morning. But now they're like, so What I do is I log in, I say like 8:15, and I check to see if I have that shield. If I do, I'm great. If not, you just go into settings in the classroom and you can scroll down. It's about 2/3 of the way down. It says you can reset your classroom code. So you just reset it. And then when they click the code at the top, it's a new one.
In the
So,
Google Classroom.
yeah. So if you go
Sorry, I'm
into-
just going to go out for a minute and we'll go to Google Classroom then.
Yeah.
And you can show us that.
Yeah, there's a few different ways to do that. And like Mike said, the calendar way can be, it can be very confusing. Like I set it up through the calendar early on, like the first week, but you can go through and you can generate that link through like what you're showing right now on the screen. And I
Okay.
think there's a way to make that invisible to the students.
Yeah,
That's what's in the chat. It says,
Yeah.
it sounds like you can make the meet invisible until the teacher logs in to prevent that from happening.
Yeah, but since you're in charge of that Google Classroom, my understanding is that you can, so you could turn it on and off to students right there. But my understanding is that since you own the classroom, if you create that link, you'll have host controls.
That's what I
Oh,
regardless.
really?
Yeah.
Because we were having that issue with
So I
somebody in the
think
beginning of the week.
I've lost them before. Like I've logged in and like for whatever reason I don't have them. So I just go in. If you scroll down a little bit further, if you click the drop down menu there,
This right here?
Yep. It says reset. So I just click reset, pops up with a new code.
Okay.
And then it's just, we're good to go. Now at the beginning, some kids they don't refresh their classroom and they were like kind of like in the old Meet with nobody there. So I just reposted it in the chat. And then like after a couple of tries, if they like realize it's 9 o'clock and there's no one there, just to refresh classroom and they can join in. But again, that's part of the learning curve for the students and staff, right? You just kind of figure it out.
And that was one thing that we had to do a couple times, Mike, was we had to reset our codes. Just because we had people coming in from other students were giving friends the code to get in and stuff. So we're like, okay, we don't really know what's going on at the time. So we reset it every day pretty well.
Yeah.
And then we just discovered other ways that worked. Like what worked for me was I made it through my calendar. That way it's always in my calendar every day until like June 25th.
Yeah.
Other people just have it at the top of their Meet link. It's whatever you're comfortable with.
Mhm.
Yeah, I know like Tom Tanner, he just posts he just makes a meeting every day and posts it in his stream, and then like they click on that when they log in, and that's their new code for the day. So
yeah, that's what I did in the spring. We did in the spring at another school. We just made a new Meet link every day because we didn't want the students to be able to go back in when we weren't there because we weren't sure what the protocol was, right? If students were logged in together. So we just got rid of that Meet and made a new one every day. So yeah, it's whatever you're comfortable with.
So the host control that you were talking about, it's right down here. It's that shield looking thing. And so when you're in the Google Meet, you could also just click on that and that brings you to this meeting safety, right? That will pop up. And so that's where you have control to like stop them from sharing their screen, stop them from sending chat messages. And then this is that, turn that off. So everyone who is invited must ask to join. Who isn't invited must ask to join. So, so a couple different ways there. Okay, so no questions in the chat or anything coming up?
Let me double check. Nope. It was just talking about that you don't necessarily have to invite everybody. And yeah, just you can make it invisible, the link invisible.
Okay.
are you good? Christine said when you do you have to put in all the emails? I don't know. I haven't done it like through the calendar.
I'm wondering, isn't it your class?
In the calendar, I made a Google group at the beginning of the year and I had all my students go in. So they're part of my group. So if I wanted to share like a Jamboard with them, I could just type in Jamboard, like send to Mr. Ebert's grade 6 class. So I made the Google group just to kind of avoid other headaches, but it also helped out with the Google Meet thing. So that's why I did it. But a lot of the other guys, what they'll do is they'll make the link in their Google Classroom and they'll just post that on their stream. So that way kids have access to that Meet too. So they'll always have access to the Meet to the link out. They can just go back into Classroom and click on that link to get back in.
Yeah, I'd probably say that's the easier.
That's probably the easiest way to do it, to be honest.
Okay. All right, you ready to take over? I'm going to stop sharing and we're going to see your day.
All right, full disclosure, this might look a lot different for a lot of people. So
Yeah.
I'm sure Mr. Cordingley's day looks a lot different than mine. So there's no, I guess, proper way to do this, but this is just how I structure my day. So
Mhm.
1 second here, I got to figure out how to do this here. Not used to this Zoom stuff.
Mhm.
There we go.
Switching up.
Okay. Oh, advanced.
Do you see the green button at the bottom in the
Yeah,
center? It says
I
share.
have that, but I'm looking for oh, where'd it go? 1 second here. I did something to this. There we go. I want to screen two, but I want to open up Google Chrome. Where'd Chrome go? Hold on a second here. Let me try to figure this out.
Boy, we're experts.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, don't worry, guys.
Still are.
We got this. We got this. There we
It's a
go.
new platform.
Yeah, the new platform.
Yeah. It drops the ball right off the bat. Everyone, I have to log back into to Google 1 second here.
I think my students hear me talk to myself a lot. Be like, all right, I gotta click this and
Oh yeah. I have great conversations with myself most days, to be honest. Okay, here we go. I think I have this now. Oh. Why is it doing this? 1 second here. How come I can't get back into Zoom now?
You're here though. We can hear you.
You
We
can
know
just-
you. We can see your face.
Can you see my screen now? No?
No, we can just see your face.
Okay, hold on a second here, Zoom. I want to get back into Zoom. It won't let me get back into Zoom.
I think
Okay.
minimize. Check your.
Oh, here we go. I got it now. Holy, I'm an expert, guys. Don't worry. Here we go. I got it now. Okay.
There you go.
See my
It's
screen?
working.
Okay.
Yep, it's
So-
working.
There we go. Yep.
This is what my day plan looks like. So I just start off with, I usually have this up when the students come in every morning, and we'll get rolling. I'll, say hey, give them the old salutation, and then we'll go through O Canada. So these are linked to O Canada and our land acknowledgement. And then this is where I started to do this every day. I said I was only going to do this for the first week, but I think it's reassuring to a lot of the students in my class, especially the reminders. So I always go through it and say things don't always work out, and that's okay. We don't get upset. We just do our best, because that's all we can ask them, is just to do their best. So be engaged, participate, listen, be ready to learn, sit in a chair, have what you need, and show your classmates respect. I put a disclaimer in there for washroom breaks, because I had a lot of kids going, Mr. Eber, I got to go to the washroom. And I was like, just put it in the chat. Just put BRB in the chat. And that seems to work quite well. In breaks, I asked them to sign out at break time, because I really want to know who's paying attention and who isn't. So I asked them to sign out during those transitions during our break times. And I encourage them to go out for a walk, move around, because I want them to take care of their daily mental health as well, and get outside and get some fresh air. And just a reminder at the end, we're all in this together. We're a team, and we encourage each other and help each other out. And I think it's promoted a lot of community sense in our class too, because a lot of students help each other out, and they'll send the link. If somebody gets booted out of the link, they'll come back in, and they'll come back in and say, hey, so and so helped me with this meet link, and it's good.
I actually stole that from you for my class too. And
Oh,
I
did you?
actually- Yeah, that constant reminder, just like that reminder of kind of like we are in all this together. I agree. It's really built like a good community, and they tend to like really help each other out. If someone's got a problem, they're willing to like, do it this way, or this is the way I did it. So they're pretty good about it.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is just kind of promoting those conversations. A lot of times, like the first 10, 15 minutes of my class will be about them just talking about the technology and about what's worked for them and what hasn't. And that's why I started to do the tech support thing. So I made a spot in my Google Classroom where they students can go and see the little like 5-10 minute videos that I found on YouTube. And I just linked everything to my classroom, so they can go and like find a tutorial on Google Docs, like how to change the font or like put a title in. Google Forms, Google Slides, especially because we use it all the time, right? So I have a little spot in my Google Classroom for that, and under materials, just in the main page. And normally we watch a tech tip, and this guy's usually pretty good. So this is top 15 tips for Google Documents, especially when we're using an app at a certain time in the day. We'll make sure that they watch a video to kind of have that familiarity before they start in with their work for the day. So today we watched a Google Docs video Tomorrow we're going to do Google Forms because we're doing data management and probability, and they're going to be doing surveys in Google Forms. So tomorrow we'll watch a form or a video about forms. So we usually do that every day. And then Corey Anderson came up with the idea of the fridge. So we'll take snippets of student work and we'll put it on the fridge, just kind of as a way to celebrate the success online, and just to show students other exemplars of what their peers are doing in class. So, and it kind of gives them ideas and say, oh, okay, well, so-and-so did that. Well, maybe I'll do that next time, right? So the fridge has been a pretty cool idea that Corey came up with. And then I'll just give them like the daily schedule, right, of what we did. So we do bell ringer work. We exploded the moment today. We're doing a 30-day challenge. And I've tried to make it a little bit fun to break up the morning and do the song of the day. So I'll just pick a song that the students might not have heard. Been going through a lot of 80s rock lately, so trying to get people fired up. It's not really working though, but
No,
they like the top 40. They like
Oh,
Final Countdown though by Europe. We listened to that about 5 times in a row the last day of school.
really?
It was insane. It was insane in my classroom that day. I think kids were jumping off couches in their living rooms. It was awesome. So
What did you play? What was your song today?
It was I think it was Pompeii by Bastille. So
Nice.
usually try to mix in some alternative in there. So I show them the morning meet, so they kind of have a reminder like, hey, this is the structure of the day. This is what we're doing, kind of like in the classroom, right? They'll have that up on the board and say, this is what we have today. Because I think it helps a little bit with the transitions and they know like what to expect. And then we usually do an attendance question. We've been borrowing logos online about the virtual Vipers. So the Detroit Vipers logo is still the best one, but this is our Would You Rather Wednesday. We kind of have a theme that Trevor Hay and Corey Anderson got together. We said, let's do a theme day on Wednesday. So it's usually Would You Rather. We'll throw up a little bell ringer work, and that's when I usually do attendance. So while they're doing that, we usually get them going with that, so I could take attendance and have a little timer at the top so they know if they're done. I usually send them onto Epic. We have an
Wait,
Epic
I
code.
want to interrupt there. Your Wednesday, would you rather speak many different languages or be really good at math? I feel like this is like a Sally versus Teresa theme here.
So
She's
funny.
the
I was
language-
thinking, like, what did they?
There was a lot of they wanted to be really good at many languages because they said they'd be better at math if they knew different languages. So it was pretty smart. It was good. It was a good one today. So when they're done, they
Language is the way to
usually
go.
yeah, I wish I could speak many different languages. I have Epic, so I made a slide up for Epic, and this is important too. That a lot of times they'll memorize these codes, but I think it's just a refresher that if you have special codes for like Epic or like Prodigy, we've been using a podcast site called Pinna, where you can get a free account right now. So the kids have been really excited about listening to these podcasts. So we usually put that up on the slide for them to just a refresher to get them in.
Sorry, can you tell us a little bit more about Pinna? I don't know.
So Pinna's it's a podcast site. So it's kind of like Epic, but for podcasts. So right now you can get a free trial until, I think mine's until May, but I think it's like a 6-month trial. And you just sign up and there's a class code like Epic. They can go in to that. And there's a really cool podcast, the Mars Patel podcast on there.
Oh yeah,
I think,
that one's supposed to be really good.
we did all 3 seasons with our guys, which is really cool. And then I think Brian has been doing Young Ben Franklin, which is another really cool one. He started that before the holidays. So a lot of really cool content on there. It's similar to Epic, but especially if you have students that might want to break up the reading, right? The reading online piece, and want to have some audible or some audio mixed in for that day. Pin is a really cool option for them.
Sorry, how do you spell that?
It's PINNA.
PINNA. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No problem.
I'll put that in the session notes too. So if anybody wants to.
And then normally we do a daily inspiration. We watch a lot of Kid President. He gets me pretty pumped up for the day.
Yeah, me too.
So we usually watch a Kid President video or a daily inspiration video, just to show the kids, teach them empathy, right, and build a more inclusive environment online, because a lot of these students are coming from different backgrounds and different schools. So it's cool to continue to build that community piece as well. And then just going through the day, I'll have up kind of like my day plan, and it keeps me in order too, because as I transition to the next slide, it's like, okay, we're going to do this 30-day challenge now. So kind of going along with the New Year's resolution piece, we're challenging the students for 30 days to do something new, whether that's a drawing, the Lego challenge, whatever they want for that day or for that 30-day challenge. Sorry.
That's neat.
Yeah, it's cool. And then little writing activity, explode the moment, so we can embed videos into these. So a lot of times I'll watch the video, just like if we had a smartboard at school, right? We'd show the video or show the example, and then we'd work on it. So we did a little free write activity with the little mouse trying to steal the cheese, Mission Impossible style. So we'll do that. Sorry. And then we'll move in, and this is the video that went along with that 30-day challenge. So we watch that kind of as a transition to the break, because by the time the 80 minutes is up in the morning, they're ready for a bit of a break, right? So I'll watch this, like an inspirational video like this, and then we usually do the song of the day right before lunch. And then after lunch, we'll get into math. So it's a structured day, just like it would be at school, right? So we get into math, and we usually do a number talk. So switched it up a little bit on you, Sally. We got into a little money number talk. So doing that. So I'll give them like a number talk in class, right? We'll talk about different concepts. We had a target number the other day, and today we switched into a little money talk. And then we're doing some data management, mean, median, and mode. So we'd get into a little activity like this. I'd show this, and I'd have the students either do this on a Jamboard, whatever they were comfortable with. So a Jamboard, whiteboard, piece of paper at home, and then if they did the work on a piece of paper at home, they'd take a picture of it and hand it in. Yeah. So, and then transition to French. So we started to send students to a different meet link for French, just to kind of get them comfortable with going into a different meet link. So I'll put this up, and I'll help students transition into that meet link, whether that's putting that code into the chat for them to get in through there. And I've also posted that on my Google Classroom as well. So, so yeah, that's kind of how the day runs. I have other activities too. So DPA, we have a little calendar here to help students get back into the swing of things. So each day we've started. Where did we start here on the 4th? So write a list of things you feel grateful for. So we'll do these activities each day, just mindfulness activities, and then we'll have little videos for them to get up and get moving with brain breaks. And we're moving into phys ed. So pick a sport or game that you want to learn more about, and you're going to create an instructional presentation about it. So phys ed looks a little bit different online. We've been trying to solve that quagmire since September. So trying to get them outside, obviously with the weather changing, it's a little bit tougher to get a lot of students outside, and depending on their situation, some of the students might not have access to things that other students have. So we're trying to make it a little bit more inclusive by giving them free choice. So a lot of times we'll give them an activity where we'll focus on a certain skill that day, like whether it's throwing or whether it's hand-eye coordination, things like that, and give them free choice. And I usually have a Google form where they'll fill out what they did, what was successful, what was unsuccessful, and what they could build on. And then usually end the day or throw this in during the day as a little brain break. How to draw. So there's a lot of awesome videos that they've put out online, obviously. So how to draw BB-8. This was a tough one. I tried to draw it and it looked terrible, but the students were awesome at it. But that's what a day in my classroom looks like. And like I said, full disclaimer, it looks a lot different for a lot of different people. Like Melissa throws out a lot of awesome stuff, and a lot of this stuff's borrowed from colleagues as well. We have a shared drive, and that's one thing that I could say, like Mike's in the shared drive as well. So we all kind of borrowed different stuff from each other that would fit into our day plan. So if I have any words of advice, it's collaborate with the people that you work with, because even though somebody might teach a different lesson, maybe in grade 4 or grade 8, some of that stuff might those brain breaks especially might work for your class. So we've collaborated since September. We've done the same math units, things like that, to be on the same page and to give the students the same materials, right? And I think that's important across the board. So
my brain's just like, whoa, like all the stuff you're doing in the day, and it's so engaging. It's
Yeah,
incredible.
it's busy, but the
Yeah.
day flies by, right? So
Mhm.
and then to follow that up, a lot of times like it does seem busy, but then that asynchronous time at the end of the day, we'll bring it all back together. So if any students have any questions, we usually log in and we'll stay logged in, and students will come back and they'll ask for extra help with math, extra help with language, science, things like that. So you usually have, and it's really cool because we usually have a lot of the students that are reluctant to ask questions. They'll come back in that afternoon session and they're not as reluctant to ask questions. You kind of have to, ask a little bit, hey, are you back here for math or for language? And then they'll ask their question that they seem content and they'll leave, right? So it's good.
And I know you assign stuff through your Google Classroom. Like
Yes.
you have assignments like that they have to complete.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, there's lots there. Is this too much to ask? Can we share your day plan, like what you did today?
Oh,
Can we
that's
share
fine.
that
Yeah,
slide deck? Will you
that's
send
fine.
the link? And
Yeah.
I know it's a lot to ask, like it's very personal, it's your own stuff, but like there's just so many ideas in there.
Oh, that's fine. I'll share it with you right now.
Okay, thank
I
you.
stole it from them anyways at the beginning of the year. The nice thing about the Google Slides, like with your day plan, if you do it there, I'm pretty sure you do it too, but then you can share with the kids. Like I have like a whole section in Google Classroom where I just post the day plan every morning, so they can go through it, they can see it all. If they miss something or there's a video or an activity, they can go back to it during
Right.
asynchronous time. Because at the beginning of the year, I was just going to keep them a secret. I want to surprise them. But then I just asked them, like, yeah, we just want to see it. So like, all right.
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
you're not fooling anyone, Mr. C.
Yeah. That's one thing too that we've done as well, is anytime we watch a video or something like that, we'll post that. We'll add that into the assignment. That way they can go back, especially art stuff, right? They want you to stop the video and it's like, okay, like we can go through this as a group, but then if you want to go back and fix it, even with language or math, right? A lot of times we use like math antics videos. That guy's pretty cool. Rob, I think his name is, from Math Antics. So I'll post, say, mean, median, and mode. I'll post that with the video so they can go back. So if they're doing that after school, right, they can watch the video first and then go back and try to do it. And then if they have issues, they'd email me or something like that, right?
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, it totally makes sense that because kids are going to get kicked out, they're going to miss things, and then that just avoids that. If they can just access that deck and they know how to do that, they can just go and find what they need and review.
Yeah.
And it's also like good, it's just good teaching practice to be able to have things that your students can access and go at their own pace and re-watch through, and like that's really good. So many things to think about. Thank you for sharing
No problem.
that. I am just going to take over the screen here and see if I can find mine. There we go. So was there anything, Mike, that you wanted to add? Do you like?
Yeah, I guess like, I don't know, like they're great. They got that whole crew there, and a lot of stuff, especially early on, like when you're just kind of like trying to figure it out before you can kind of get your own feet wet. It's nice to have like the lean on each other and just kind of get yourself started. And then once you get on your own, you find you just, like in regular school, you just kind of get your own routines or own pace. Like mine's similar, but it's a little bit different. But like what he mentioned, like having them do an activity while you're doing attendance is really, really important, because you're not going to find, like when you're in a class and you just look to see who's not at their desk, and you can do attendance like that. But on the online class, I have them do like a journal, or they're in RAS Kids or doing something. And then what I usually do is I take a screenshot at about 9 o'clock, and by about 9:15 or whatever, when I'm doing attendance, I use that in my Google Classroom to kind of compare who's been there. A lot of people do the question thing where they post in the chat and answer to the question. So you just kind of find your own stuff. And then the big thing is choice. Like you mentioned, like for phys ed and GPA, I found, at the beginning, I was going to get into all these activities, and then it dawned on me, like, it's just as easy for me to post one video as 3. So I can get, like, usually for phys ed, they've got like a yoga video they can do. So I post a couple of yoga videos. They've got more like a workout video. And then I cheat a little bit. I want to work out a little bit. So I stream T25 off of my TV. The kids are feeling more hardcore. So I'm just working out next to them. So they get the choice, right? Am I feeling like a yoga day? Am I feeling like a medium phys ed with Joe day? or do I want to push it with Mr. C and get really sweaty? So giving them
Sweet.
choice really helps them. I find it. And then again, with the Google Forms like for DPA, they kind of provide that accountability where you have to go fill that out. I have them check their heart rate before they're done their work.
It's good.
And then after, and it kind of shows like, I can see like if they've been actually doing exercise. Because usually when you do that, then
Yeah, you get a
figure out how to
different,
fudge
Yeah.
those numbers, right?
depending on how hard you work during that session.
Exactly. So it's just little things that you kind of pick up and go through. But yeah, I mean, in our day, I'm not sure with you guys for this week, like we've got kind of a weird schedule. I don't know if you noticed when we went through his day plan, we've got basically 3 80-minute blocks. And then that last hour is kind of what we call asynchronous time. But I'm not sure if you guys are being moved to that.
So they have 225 minutes that are instructional. They need to follow the prep schedule, right? Because their
Right.
prep provider is going to come in at that assigned time. They have to do attendance twice. And so they're like that, the day's flexible. They need to like do 225 minutes and be available to the students during their learning of that 225. And then it's kind of like, you know, there's flexibility in there for them. So
Okay, so everyone's kind of got a bit of a different schedule.
yeah.
It was kind of nice for us that we're all like, we just like the whole virtual school's got these 3 80-minute blocks, and so
Yeah.
it's really easy for us to kind of plan all together. And I think most people's schedules generally look the same, like language first block, math in the middle block, and then whatever else you need to fill in.
Yeah. Okay, so we're gonna just share a couple of resources to end off here. Hopefully, Mike and Darren, you might like some of these. I don't know, maybe you've already seen them. So this one, this was on Twitter this week. And so it's like somebody was asking yesterday or the day before about sites. And this is like a huge collection of sites. And so I was like, well, that's like, I have some that I've kind of gathered, but I'm like, well, this is probably better than what I have listed. So I was like, I want to show that. This is going to be in our session notes. And then it also has the virtual manipulatives, and note down here, like the Math Learning Center is my absolute favorite place for virtual manipulatives. And then Toy Theater and the National Library of Virtual. I used to try and use that in the very beginning and I had some issues, but I'm sure they probably have it figured out now. That was like years ago though. So I am going to just escape out of here for a second so I can show you. So let's see, there's the, so these are the session notes. So you can see there's the slide deck from today. I'll add in Darren's daily like slide deck for today. And then the variety of hyperdocs, you're gonna see that in a minute, but the choice board for math, yeah, I got that off of Twitter. So when you open this link, it'll force you to make a copy. So you make your own copy and then you can just click on them and it will take you to them. So the links are right in there for you. So
But just to like the highlight, because like you guys are probably like you can get overwhelmed with all this stuff.
Yeah.
For like math, the stuff I kind of like right now, I've been doing data management stuff. I'm using a lot of that Desmos that you showed me a couple weeks ago, which is great. That link, go down to the
Desmos
math tools.
Was it in math tools? Desmos?
No. You had like your math tools. You just talked about it quick, but some teachers may not know about how like useful that is for like having whiteboards and things like that. So the Math Learning Center down there.
Yes.
That's a really good one. So click on that link and just explore it, because I know like when I first started, you know, it's great, you get all these resources, but it's like sometimes you just need like 1 or 2 to kind of get you through the week. So this is a good one. Or do you want to type in the whiteboard.fi? That one's like a pretty basic one that's pretty handy if you want kids to share their math too. So this is like a nice kind of like simple one. And so what you do is just go into new class. It's going to generate a class code, you name it. I usually just put like Mr. C or whatever. It gives you a class code. You can copy it. And then at the top, it says toggle my whiteboard. And there you can put some stuff in there. You can send it to all the kids who are logged in. You can see what they're each individually working on. So this is like a quick and dirty web-based one. This works for iPads, for Chromebooks, whatever they have. So this is like a nice, easy one to kind of jump into. So Those math tools that Sally talked about, the learning tools, or I can't remember the name of the site exactly, but the math learning.
The Math Learning Center.
Math Learning Center. That
Yeah.
one I found super handy. I found that whiteboard one super handy. So if you're just looking for like a couple to kind of
Yeah.
get you through the week, those are
The-
good places to start.
The best thing about this Math Learning Center is that share feature. So this little video right here, it's like 2 minutes. It's worth just watching because it talks about sharing, and it's really easy to share with students. And you can create a work page basically, and they have the manipulatives right there available to them. And then they get it once they type in that code or they go to the link, it pushes their own copy, and so then they can do their work on that page. It is pretty neat. And then the having the manipulatives right there and the web app, like it's a web based, so it shouldn't have issues with on an iPad or so you can see there. And then here's your assignment, so then they know what they have to do, and then they can use the manipulatives to solve.
Yeah, so yeah, I found just like at the beginning, right, you're just overwhelmed because there aren't so many free resources. But if you can lock into like 1 or 2 to start, and then once you get comfortable with that, you just gradually start branching off to new things. Like, don't feel like you have to master all this stuff in the 3 days.
Yeah,
or whatever you have
no.
left.
Yeah,
You
like
can-
I would pick one thing, one site from here. Like I love this illustrative math. I don't know if you've seen that, Mike, but I love this one. We'll probably dig in. I would encourage people dig in that because it has like questions and prompts, especially for this week when they're just doing review. It's kind of nice.
Yeah, that's the
There's
one with all
so
the,
much in-
the math pictures, right? With the different grade
Yeah,
questions.
yeah.
That's a good one.
Okay, and then this other one I wanted to share with you. So let's go down. So this right here, this person I followed on Twitter, and always really useful stuff that she puts out. And she actually, this is her blog, and she always has really good ideas about math. She's like a consultant, I think, for a district. And so this is, yeah, the Rio School District. And so she's created these remote learning activities. And for people who aren't on, who have students who've chosen that second choice of no live stuff that they're going to just be doing on demand, there's a lot of activities in here. So if you're teaching 5th grade, I'd probably choose the 4th grade. So if you're 6th, you choose the 5th, and you just have to click on the link. It will take you to this. Or no, so you're here, you get your own copy. It takes you to this document that she's created. And you can see it's like 25 pages long, and it's organized by weeks, and then day 1, day 2, day 3, and it just goes through a week and provides activities. And so if you're looking like this week, the teachers are supposed to be doing review just so that it's not stressful for anybody because it's new to them. There's lots of activities in here for review. And the best thing about this package is that she sources where she's gotten the ideas from. And so then if you like a certain kind of activity, it sets you up to like go to that site and then find more of those things they're available. So that's one thing for math. And then we're going to talk to you about some language resources, and then we'll be finishing up. So this language resource, it's like a link. So it's in the session notes. It will pull up like this, and then you'll sign into your Google Drive, and it's like a collection of resources, and it forces you to make a copy when you find something you want. So I've been exploring this for the last few days. It's amazing. So this section right here is by subject. And so we were looking for something for reading and writing. So I went into the reading and writing lessons. Actually, no, I didn't. Sorry, I'm not telling you the truth there. I was exploring in there, but in the collections, there's collection of read alouds. And so they're just like tasks already set up that somebody's like planned. And so this Each Kindness, I've read this book before. And actually when I was in the classroom, I would read it to my class every year. And so I looked into this one. And so you can see how the person's just done all the work and prep for you, because there's so much on the internet to find and you can waste all your time doing that. So it's kind of like a collection of things. Here you go. If you want to read this text, here's the read aloud if you don't have it at home to read to your kids. just watch it on YouTube with them. And then here's some more videos about kindness. So if you're doing those like connections, connection to the text, connection to another text, or to another text, to the world, you can look in there. And then there's stories, ideas, quotes, like you could just pull one of those and have them write about it for that day. Poems, like, so there's just, you know, it's kind of like a pre-package for you as the teacher to cut down on the amount of work you have to do. So I would encourage you to like look in.
Sorry to interrupt, Sally. There's just a question in the chat, just
Okay.
asking where the session notes will be posted. Are they posted, or where do you find them?
Yep, so we have a bit.ly. We're gonna go to that next. So when we get to that bit.ly, you'll take down the bit.ly and then just type it in and keep the bit.ly, so then you can, or even add it to your drive, and then it just will be in there for you. And when we're adding to these daily, so I'll be there for you. So this other, I was looking in here and I was like, oh my goodness, there's so much like screencasting resource. So it's kind of a resource for the teacher. And digital citizenship superhero training. Like there's just so much already prepped for you to go in and not reinvent the wheel. Like we've heard people saying from the virtual school, like don't do that to yourself. There's too much, it will take too much time. This one here is like a tips and tricks for parents about, you know, like kind of like what Darren's doing with his class and like supporting them with tech. Well, there's information for parents if they need, you know, help with any of these platforms. And so then the last site we wanted to share was Leah. I don't know if anybody's used that, but I used it a lot last year when we were creating packages. It's free. Teresa went and created an account. Once you create your account, you know, you can go in here, you can explore specific content. Like I was looking for stuff connected to social studies and science last year. So I'd look in here, find what I was looking for, or you can just like browse and look at the headings, like here's fun for students. And like there's all these articles. And if you go into an article, you'll see that it has the option of read aloud, so that it will read to the students if it's a text that's too challenging for them. And then here it has activities. And so there's a writing task, and you can just like copy it and put it into a Google form, even if you want them to complete a task in a Google form, or put it into your doc that you're pushing to everybody for the day. Or there are quiz questions that they already have prepped for you. So if they're any good, you might want to use them. Gives you the answers, so you could just drop that in. It save you a lot of time. I also like how it says like how many words, what level it's targeting. Let's see if we go to 610 words, if it has a, yep, see, it changes the text level to 3 and makes it, you know, easier text to read. So it's just a pretty incredible site to cut down on your work. Okay, so let's go back to our slide deck. Any questions then before we end?
The nice thing with most of those sites like Newsella, when you log in, you can link all that stuff to your classroom. So once you do that, like if you sign into your Google account, it like will automatically share it to your classroom as a post. So
Really?
like, yeah, if you go back to that and click share,
Okay.
if you have a classroom, it just shares it, like, so it just automatically puts in your, and you might have to tweak it a little bit.
Under a sign or?
Click share, the share right next between read out loud and hide.
Okay.
You click that, you click Google Classroom. You pick the class you want to share it to.
I'm going to sign it to your class.
And then choose an action. So I just click create assignment.
Okay.
And then you click go, and then it's in your, and then you can do all your stuff you need to do for Google Classroom.
Yeah.
Put it like whatever you need to do, and then it pops it in, you're ready to go for tomorrow.
Yeah, a lot of sites are doing that now too. We use CBC Kids News quite a bit, like once a week, and they have an assign tool now for assign with Google Classroom now on it. Like a lot of the educational websites are doing that now. So ReadWorks does the same thing too. ReadWorks has you sync it with your Google Classroom as well. So
Nice.
Yeah, the CBC one's nice because it's Canadian, like New Zealand.
Yeah.
You got it's just all American, but it's good. It comes from like credible newspapers to do a good job of kind of vetting all the articles. Like you'll see they're from like the New York Times or the Washington Post or whatever. So you're getting quality stuff, but it is American. So you just kind of keep that in the back of your mind.
Okay, so no questions I see. So this was shared with the virtual teachers and it was on Twitter yesterday and I was like, oh, that looks like fun. So I thought I would just post it in here. The link will be here and the slide deck is shared with you in the session notes. So you might be interested in going to the Toronto Zoo tomorrow at 11.
Cool.
And there's the link there.
awesome.
Field trip rate during lockdown.
Yeah.
That nice thing, like with the virtual, like, did you jump on that, Darren, with like the talking to John Montgomery?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we've had some neat interest, like some interesting opportunities for like Remembrance Day was kind of wild depending where you jumped in and what thing you got to see. And so we've had some cool opportunities.
Nice. Okay, so there's notes. So all you gotta do is type that in. So take a screenshot of it right now. And then you'll have it so you can go to it. All right, thank you. And there, Mike, I've added your email to it. Darren said yesterday he would answer questions if anybody had questions.
Yep. Just one small change. There's an E, L-E-Y. So don't send it to that person because it doesn't exist.
Oh yeah, L-E-Y. Good to know.
Can you show the bit.ly again, Sally, after you correct his spelling?
Like that?
Yep, perfect.
Okay. Yeah, and we'll end on that bit.ly. All right, well, thank you,
Thanks.
Mike and Darren.
No problem.
Darren, it's been 2 days and you've shared so much. I appreciate it. And
Oh, no problem.
Mike's gonna be our leader tomorrow. So
Sure.
Thanks, Mike. If you have anything that you can think of that, you know, you would have really appreciated somebody sharing with you in the very beginning, that'd be great. I know we're not like, we're supposed to be back next week, but we're kind of hoping that teachers are gonna refer back to these videos because their chances are good. There could be a full lockdown or a cohort goes home. And so,
Who knows?
yeah. So if there's anything you can think of for tomorrow, Mike, that, you know, you wish you would have heard in the first month, that'd be great.
Sure. Have you talked about using that that extension for the seeing the whole classroom?
So we showed the like tiled, like how you can expand the tiles,
Right.
like right in the Google Meet, but we didn't show that, like we talked about the add-on extension for GridView because somebody was having an issue. And so we thought maybe that might've been causing the issue, but we didn't actually talk about adding that extension. So you're still using that extension now?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so maybe we could talk about that tomorrow then
Yeah.
and show how to do that.
Yeah, that was a game changer for me on day two. Oh, I didn't see everyone.
Yeah. No, it's true. It's very true.
All right. Well, thanks, guys. So
Take care, guys.
see you tomorrow.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Darren.
No problem. Thank you.
Okay. Bye, Mike. Thanks.
See you guys. Have a good night.